The alarm clock doesn't wake you up. The dread does. It's 6 a.m. on a Tuesday in May 2026. The light is just beginning to bleed through the blinds, painting gray stripes across a room that feels less like a sanctuary and more like a holding cell for your ambitions. You stare at the ceiling. Your phone is face down on the nightstand, a black monolith of potential distraction, but you don't need to look at it to know what's waiting there. The emails, the notifications, the endless scrolling feed of other people's highlight reels, their finished projects, their polished lives. They are moving. You are stationary. There is a gap between who you are and who you promised yourself you would be. That gap is not a lack of talent. It is not a lack of time. It is a lack of control. We live in an age of infinite information and finite attention, where the ability to choose what to focus on has become the single most valuable currency in the human economy. Yet, most of us are bankrupt. We feel busy, but we are not productive. We feel exhausted, but we are not fulfilled. We are running on a treadmill that is slowly accelerating, convinced that if we just run faster, we will eventually get somewhere. But we never do. We just get tired. What if the problem isn't that you aren't working hard enough? What if the problem is that you are working against the grain of your own psychology? What if productivity isn't a trait you are born with, like height or eye color, but a skill you can build, like a muscle or a language? What if the chaos in your mind is not a permanent state of being, but a solvable equation? This is the story of Smarter, Faster, Better. It is not a manual on how to check more boxes. It is a manifesto on how to reclaim your agency. It is a deep dive into the science of why some people and organizations thrive while others drown, and how you can shift from the latter to the former. Over the next hour, we are going to dismantle the myths of productivity. We are going to explore the neuroscience of motivation, the architecture of focus, the power of psychological safety, and the art of making better choices. We are going to learn how to transform the way you think so that you can transform the way you live. Welcome to the journey. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Power of Choice and the Illusion of Control. Imagine you are sitting in a cockpit. Not a metaphorical one, but a real one. You are a pilot, and the plane is experiencing turbulence. The lights flicker. The passengers are nervous. In the seat next to you is your co-pilot. But here is the twist. You are not actually flying the plane. You are watching someone else fly it. You have no controls. You have no say. You are merely a passenger with a view. How do you feel? Anxious? Helpless? Disengaged? Now, imagine the opposite. You are in the same cockpit, the same turbulence. But this time, your hands are on the yoke. You are making micro adjustments. You are communicating with air traffic control. You are deciding the altitude, the speed, the trajectory, even as the wind pushes back. How do you feel now? Alert? Focused? Alive? This is the fundamental insight of Charles Duhigg's first principle: agency. Productivity is not about doing more things, it is about believing that you have control over what you do. When we feel like passive participants in our own lives, when we feel that our actions are dictated by external forces, by bosses, by algorithms, by circumstance, our brains shut down. We enter a state of learned helplessness. We become reactive. We wait for instructions. We wait for permission. We wait for the storm to pass. But when we perceive that we have a choice, even a small one, our brains light up. The prefrontal cortex, the center of executive function, engages. We become proactive. We start to solve problems rather than endure them. This is not just philosophical, it is neurological. Studies show that when individuals believe they have control over their environment, their stress levels drop, their cognitive performance improves, and their resilience increases. The mere perception of control is a potent drug. So, how do we cultivate this sense of agency in a world that often feels out of control? The answer lies in the concept of internal locus of control. People with an internal locus of control believe that their actions influence outcomes. People with an external locus of control believe that outcomes are determined by luck, fate, or powerful others. The most productive people are not necessarily the smartest or the hardest working. They are the ones who fiercely maintain an internal locus of control, even in chaotic situations. Consider the story of the Marines. In high-stress training exercises, Marines are taught to make small, deliberate choices. They don't just follow orders blindly, they are trained to assess the situation, identify options, and choose a course of action. This training is designed to instill a sense of agency. When a Marine is under fire, they don't freeze, they act. Why? Because they have practiced the habit of choosing. They have trained their brains to see themselves as actors, not victims. You can apply this same principle to your daily life. It starts with the smallest decisions. When you wake up, do you scroll through your phone, letting the algorithm dictate your mood and your focus? Or do you choose your first action? Do you let your inbox define your priorities, or do you define them yourself? These seem like trivial choices, but they are the building blocks of your psychological reality. Every time you make a conscious choice, you reinforce your neural pathways for agency. You tell your brain, I am in charge here. Duhigg introduces a powerful tool for enhancing this sense of control: proactive goal setting. Instead of waiting for tasks to arrive, you anticipate them. You visualize the day ahead. You identify potential obstacles and plan how to overcome them. This process, known as mental contrasting, involves imagining your desired future and then contrasting it with the current reality. By doing this, you create a cognitive bridge between where you are and where you want to be. You transform vague aspirations into concrete plans. For example, instead of saying, I want to be more productive today, you say, I will write the first draft of my report from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. If I get distracted by email, I will close my inbox and set a timer for 25 minutes of focused work. This specific intention creates a sense of control. You are not hoping for productivity, you are engineering it. The key takeaway here is that motivation is not something that happens to you. It is something you create, and you create it by asserting your agency. You create it by making choices. Even when the options are limited, the act of choosing is empowering. It shifts your mindset from passive to active. It turns the cockpit from a place of fear into a place of command. Ask yourself right now, where in your life are you acting like a passenger? Where are you waiting for permission? Identify one area where you can take the controls. It might be as simple as deciding what you eat for lunch, or as complex as renegotiating your role at work. But make the choice. Feel the weight of the yoke in your hands. That feeling is the spark of true productivity. Chapter 2. Motivation as a skill and the spark of insight. If agency is the engine of productivity, then motivation is the fuel. But most of us misunderstand what motivation is. We think of it as a feeling. We wait to feel inspired. We wait to feel energized. We wait for the muse to strike. And when she doesn't, we procrastinate. We blame ourselves for lacking discipline. We think we are broken. But Duhigg argues that motivation is not a feeling. It is a skill. It is a habit. And like any skill, it can be learned. The secret to sustaining motivation lies in understanding how our brains generate drive. Neuroscience tells us that motivation is driven by dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with reward and pleasure. But dopamine is not just released when we receive a reward, it is released when we anticipate a reward. It is released when we see a path to a goal. This is why large, vague goals are demotivating. Write a book is terrifying. Write one page is manageable. When a goal feels too distant or too difficult, our brains struggle to generate the dopamine needed to sustain effort. We need to break down our goals into smaller, achievable steps. We need to create a series of small wins. Each small win releases a hit of dopamine, which fuels the next step. This is the progress principle. Progress, no matter how small, is the most powerful motivator. But there is a deeper layer to motivation. Duhigg explores the concept of insight moments. Have you ever been stuck on a problem for hours, days, or even weeks, and then suddenly the solution pops into your head? Maybe you're in the shower. Maybe you're taking a walk. Maybe you're staring out the window. The answer arrives not through intense focus, but through relaxation. This is the aha moment. Insight moments are not random. They are the result of a specific cognitive process. When we are intensely focused on a problem, our brains are in a state of high alert. We are filtering out irrelevant information. But sometimes, the solution lies in that irrelevant information. It lies in a connection we haven't made yet. To find it, we need to relax our focus. We need to let our minds wander. We need to engage in defocused attention. This is why breaks are essential for productivity. They are not a waste of time, they are a crucial part of the creative process. When we step away from a problem, our brains continue to work on it in the background. This is known as incubation. During incubation, our brains make new connections. They recombine information in novel ways. And when we return to the problem, we often see it with fresh eyes. Duhigg shares the story of a team at Pixar. The animators were stuck on a particular scene. They had tried everything. Nothing worked. Finally, they decided to take a break. They went for a walk. They talked about unrelated things. And then, suddenly, one of them had an idea. It was a small tweak, but it solved the problem. The breakthrough didn't come from working harder, it came from stepping back. To harness the power of insight, we need to build slack into our schedules. We need to allow time for wandering. We need to resist the urge to fill every minute with task-oriented activity. We need to trust that our brains are working for us even when we are not consciously focused. But how do we motivate ourselves to do the hard, boring stuff? The stuff that doesn't offer immediate rewards? Duhigg suggests connecting these tasks to a larger purpose. We need to find the why behind the what. When we understand how a task contributes to a meaningful goal, it becomes easier to sustain effort. This is known as task significance. For example, if you are data entry clerk, it might feel meaningless to input numbers into a spreadsheet. But if you understand that those numbers are helping to track the spread of a disease or to improve the efficiency of a supply chain that delivers food to hungry people, the task takes on new meaning. It becomes part of a larger narrative. It becomes significant. So, to build motivation, you must do 3 things. First, break your goals into small, achievable steps to create a cycle of small wins. Second, allow time for defocused attention and incubation to spark insight. Third, connect your tasks to a larger purpose to find meaning. Motivation is not a mystery, it is a mechanism. And once you understand how it works, you can hack it. You can stop waiting for inspiration and start generating it. You can stop fighting your brain and start working with it. Think about a project you have been avoiding. Why are you avoiding it? Is it because it feels too big? Break it down. Is it because you are stuck? Step away. Take a walk. Let your mind wander. Is it because it feels meaningless? Find the why. Connect it to your values. Connect it to your vision. Then take the first small step. Feel the dopamine hit. Use it to take the next step. Keep going. You are building a skill. You are building momentum. You are becoming motivated. Chapter 3. Focus and the danger of distraction. We live in an attention economy. Every app, every website, every notification is designed to steal your focus. They are engineered by some of the smartest people in the world, using sophisticated algorithms and behavioral psychology to keep you hooked. And they are succeeding. The average person checks their phone over 150 times a day. We are constantly fragmented. We are constantly interrupted. And this fragmentation is killing our productivity. Focus is not just about paying attention. It is about filtering. It is about deciding what to ignore. Our brains have a limited capacity for processing information. When we try to multitask, we are not actually doing 2 things at once. We are switching rapidly between 2 tasks, and every switch comes with a cost. It takes time and energy to reorient our attention. This is known as switching cost. Over the course of a day, these costs add up. They drain our cognitive resources. They leave us feeling exhausted and ineffective. Duhigg introduces the concept of cognitive tunneling. When we are overwhelmed by information, our brains tend to focus on the most immediate, salient stimuli. We react to the loudest noise, the brightest light, the newest notification. We lose sight of the bigger picture. We become reactive rather than proactive. This is dangerous. In high-stakes environments like aviation or healthcare, cognitive tunneling can lead to catastrophic errors. Pilots have crashed planes because they focused on a minor warning light while ignoring the fact that the plane was losing altitude. Doctors have misdiagnosed patients because they focused on a single symptom while ignoring the broader clinical picture. In our daily lives, cognitive tunneling leads to a similar, albeit less deadly, outcome. We spend our days putting out fires, responding to emails, and attending meetings while neglecting the important, long-term projects that truly matter. We are busy, but we are not effective. So, how do we protect our focus? How do we resist the pull of distraction? The answer is not willpower. Willpower is a finite resource. It gets depleted throughout the day. Relying on willpower to resist distraction is like trying to hold back a flood with your hands. It won't work. Instead, we need to design our environment to support focus. We need to create friction for distractions and flow for deep work. This means turning off notifications. It means keeping your phone in another room. It means using website blockers. It means creating a dedicated workspace that is free from clutter and noise. But environmental design is only part of the solution. We also need to train our brains to focus. Duhigg discusses the concept of narrative building. When we are engaged in a task, we should create a story in our heads about what we are doing. We should describe our actions to ourselves. This keeps our minds anchored in the present moment. It prevents them from wandering. For example, if you are writing a report, you might say to yourself, I am now outlining the introduction. I am identifying the key arguments. I am structuring the logic. This internal narration acts as a tether. It keeps you focused on the task at hand. Another powerful technique is goal visualization. Before starting a task, take a moment to visualize yourself completing it. Imagine the feeling of satisfaction. Imagine the relief. Imagine the pride. This visualization primes your brain for success. It creates a mental image of the desired outcome, which helps to guide your actions. Duhigg also emphasizes the importance of team focus. In group settings, distraction can be contagious. If one person is checking their phone, others are likely to do the same. To combat this, teams need to establish norms for focus. They need to agree on when to be available and when to be unavailable. They need to respect each other's deep work time. One company implemented a normating Wednesday policy. On Wednesdays, no meetings were allowed. Employees were free to focus on their individual projects. The result? Productivity soared. Employees reported feeling less stressed and more accomplished. They were able to make significant progress on complex tasks that required sustained attention. Focus is a muscle, and like any muscle, it needs to be exercised. Start small. Commit to 25 minutes of uninterrupted work. Use a timer. Turn off your phone. Close your email. Focus on one task. When the timer goes off, take a break. Then, do it again. Gradually increase the duration of your focus sessions. You will find that your ability to concentrate improves. You will find that you can resist the pull of distraction. You will find that you can enter a state of flow, where time seems to disappear and you are fully immersed in your work. Flow is the ultimate state of productivity. It is where creativity and efficiency converge. It is where we do our best work, and it is accessible to everyone. But it requires discipline. It requires intention. It requires a willingness to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with your purpose. Ask yourself, what is stealing your focus? Identify the distractions. Eliminate them. Create a space for deep work. Train your brain to stay present. Build a narrative. Visualize success. Protect your attention. It is your most valuable asset. Guard it fiercely. Chapter 4. Psychological safety and the power of teams' productivity is often viewed as an individual pursuit. We think of the lone genius, the solitary writer, the independent entrepreneur. But the reality is that most meaningful work is done in teams. And the productivity of a team is not simply the sum of its individual members. It is a complex dynamic that depends on how those members interact. Duhigg delves into the research of Google's Project Aristotle, a massive study aimed at discovering what makes a team effective. Google analyzed hundreds of its teams, looking for patterns. They looked at education levels, personality types, social habits, and work styles. They expected to find that the best teams were composed of the smartest, most experienced individuals, but they were wrong. The data revealed that the composition of the team mattered less than the norms of the team. The most important factor in team effectiveness was psychological safety. Psychological safety is the belief that you can speak up without risk of punishment or humiliation. It is the confidence that your ideas, questions, concerns, and mistakes will be heard and respected. In teams with high psychological safety, members feel comfortable taking risks. They share unconventional ideas. They admit when they don't know something. They ask for help. They critique each other's work constructively. This openness leads to better decision-making, faster problem-solving, and higher innovation. In contrast, in teams with low psychological safety, members are afraid to speak up. They hide their mistakes. They withhold ideas. They agree with the boss even when they disagree. This silence leads to groupthink, errors, and stagnation. Duhigg shares the story of a surgical team. In one hospital, surgeons operated in a hierarchical environment. Nurses were afraid to question the surgeon's decisions, even when they noticed a potential error. In another hospital, the culture was more collaborative. Nurses felt empowered to speak up. The result? The second hospital had significantly lower rates of surgical complications. The difference was not the skill of the surgeons, it was the psychological safety of the team. Building psychological safety is not about being nice. It is not about avoiding conflict. It is about creating a culture of trust and respect. It is about encouraging open communication. Leaders play a crucial role in this. They must model vulnerability. They must admit their own mistakes. They must invite feedback. They must listen actively. They must respond to ideas with curiosity, not judgment. One simple technique for building psychological safety is the check-in. At the beginning of a meeting, each team member shares how they are feeling and what they hope to accomplish. This simple act humanizes the interaction. It reminds everyone that they are working with people, not just roles. It creates a sense of connection. Another technique is the post-mortem. After a project is completed, the team gathers to discuss what went well and what didn't. The focus is on learning, not blaming. Everyone is encouraged to share their perspective. Mistakes are viewed as opportunities for growth, not failures. Duhigg also highlights the importance of conversational turn-taking. In effective teams, everyone speaks roughly the same amount. No one dominates the conversation. No one is silenced. This equality ensures that diverse perspectives are heard. It prevents the loudest voices from dictating the direction. To foster this, leaders can use structured facilitation techniques. They can go around the room and ask each person for their input. They can use anonymous polling tools to gather opinions. They can assign a devil's advocate to challenge assumptions. Psychological safety is not a soft skill. It is a hard necessity. It is the foundation of high-performing teams. Without it, talent is wasted. Potential is stifled. Innovation is crushed. With it, teams become greater than the sum of their parts. They become resilient, adaptive, and creative. Reflect on your own teams. Do you feel safe speaking up? Do you feel heard? If not, what can you do to change that? Can you start by sharing a mistake? Can you ask for feedback? Can you invite others to share their ideas? Small actions can shift the culture. You can be the catalyst for psychological safety. You can create a space where everyone thrives. Chapter 5. Managing goals and the art of decision-making. We are taught to set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This framework is useful, but it is incomplete. It focuses on the what and the when, but it ignores the how and the why. It assumes that once a goal is set, the path to achieving it is linear. But life is not linear. It is messy. It is unpredictable. Obstacles arise. Priorities shift. Context changes. Duhigg argues that we need a more flexible approach to goal management. He introduces the concept of stretch goals paired with SMART systems. Stretch goals are ambitious, almost impossible objectives. They push us out of our comfort zones. They force us to innovate. But stretch goals alone can be demotivating. They can feel overwhelming. That's why they need to be paired with SMART systems. SMART systems are the processes and habits that support the achievement of stretch goals. They are the daily routines, the weekly reviews, the feedback loops. They provide the structure and the stability needed to pursue ambitious aims. For example, a stretch goal might be to double your revenue in a year. The SMART system might be to make 10 cold calls every day, to review your sales pipeline every Friday, and to seek feedback from customers every month. The combination of stretch goals and SMART systems creates a dynamic tension. The stretch goal provides the vision and the energy. The SMART system provides the roadmap and the discipline. Together, they enable sustained progress. But setting goals is only half the battle. The other half is making decisions. We are bombarded with choices every day. What to work on first, which email to answer, which project to prioritize. These decisions consume our cognitive energy. They lead to decision fatigue. As the day progresses, our ability to make good decisions deteriorates. We become impulsive. We procrastinate. We choose the easy option over the right option. To combat decision fatigue, we need to simplify our choices. We need to establish rules and heuristics. We need to automate routine decisions. For example, you might decide to always wear the same type of outfit to work or to eat the same breakfast every day. These small automations free up mental bandwidth for more important decisions. Duhigg also emphasizes the importance of probabilistic thinking. Most decisions are not black and white. They involve uncertainty. We rarely have all the information. So, instead of seeking certainty, we should think in probabilities. We should weigh the likelihood of different outcomes. We should consider the potential risks and rewards. For example, if you are deciding whether to launch a new product, you might estimate the probability of success based on market research, customer feedback, and competitive analysis. You might also consider the potential downside if the product fails. By quantifying the uncertainty, you can make a more informed decision. Another key concept is opportunity cost. Every choice we make involves giving up something else. If we choose to work on project A, we are choosing not to work on project B. We need to be aware of these trade-offs. We need to ask ourselves, is this the best use of my time? Is this the highest value activity? Duhigg suggests using a decision journal. Whenever you make a significant decision, write down your reasoning. Record your expectations. Then, review the outcome later. Did the decision lead to the desired result? If not, why? This practice helps you learn from your mistakes. It improves your decision-making skills over time. Finally, Duhigg discusses the power of pre-mortems. Before making a major decision, imagine that it has failed. Ask yourself, why did it fail? This exercise helps you identify potential pitfalls. It allows you to mitigate risks before they become problems. Managing goals and making decisions are not static skills. They are dynamic practices. They require continuous reflection and adjustment. You must be willing to pivot. You must be willing to abandon goals that no longer serve you. You must be willing to embrace uncertainty. Take a moment to review your current goals. Are they stretch goals? Do you have SMART systems in place to support them? Are you suffering from decision fatigue? Can you automate some of your choices? Are you thinking probabilistically? Are you aware of opportunity costs? Start keeping a decision journal. Conduct a pre-mortem on your next big project. Take control of your goals and your decisions. Shape your future. Chapter 6. Absorbing data and the promise of lean analytics. We are drowning in data. Every click, every swipe, every purchase is recorded. Companies collect terabytes of information about their customers. Individuals track their steps, their sleep, their heart rates. But data alone is not knowledge. Data is just noise until it is interpreted, until it is understood, until it is acted upon. Duhigg explores the concept of lean analytics. This approach, borrowed from the startup world, emphasizes the importance of measuring what matters. It warns against vanity metrics, numbers that look good but don't drive action. For example, the number of likes on a social media post is a vanity metric. It doesn't tell you if those likes are converting into sales or loyalty. A better metric might be the conversion rate or the customer retention rate. Lean analytics is about finding the one metric that matters. It is about focusing on the key performance indicators, KPI, that truly reflect progress toward your goals. It is about using data to inform decisions, not just to justify them. But absorbing data is not just about business. It is about personal growth. We can apply lean analytics to our own lives. We can track our habits. We can measure our progress. We can use data to identify patterns and make improvements. For example, if you want to improve your sleep, you might track your bedtime, your caffeine intake, and your screen time. Over time, you might discover that drinking coffee after 2 p.m. consistently leads to poor sleep. Armed with this data, you can make a change. You can stop drinking coffee in the afternoon. You can monitor the results. You can iterate. Duhigg shares the story of a hospital that used data to reduce infections. They tracked every instance of infection. They analyzed the data to identify common factors. They discovered that hand hygiene was the biggest variable. So, they implemented a strict hand washing protocol. They monitored compliance. They tracked the infection rates. The result? A dramatic reduction in infections. The data didn't solve the problem, it guided the solution. The key to absorbing data is to avoid analysis paralysis. It is easy to get lost in the numbers. It is easy to spend more time analyzing than acting. Lean analytics emphasizes speed and iteration. Collect data, analyze it, make a change, measure the impact, repeat. Another important concept is data storytelling. Data is abstract. Stories are concrete. To make data actionable, we need to wrap it in a narrative. We need to explain what the numbers mean. We need to connect them to human experiences. We need to inspire action. For example, instead of just presenting a chart showing a decline in customer satisfaction, a manager might share a story about a specific customer who had a bad experience. This story makes the data relatable. It creates empathy. It motivates the team to improve. To absorb data effectively, you must ask the right questions. Don't just ask what happened. Ask, why did it happen? Ask, what can we do about it? Be curious. Be critical. Be skeptical. Not all data is accurate. Not all correlations are causal. Dig deeper. Seek context. Start small. Choose one area of your life or work where you want to improve. Identify one metric to track. Collect data for a week. Analyze it. Make one change. See what happens. You will be surprised by how much you can learn from simple observation. You will be surprised by how much you can improve by following the data. Data is a mirror. It reflects our reality. It shows us our strengths and our weaknesses. It reveals our blind spots. Embrace it. Use it. Let it guide you to smarter, faster, better outcomes. Chapter 7. Conclusion: the continuous journey we have traveled through the landscape of productivity. We have explored the power of choice, the science of motivation, the art of focus, the importance of psychological safety, the management of goals, and the absorption of data. We have seen that productivity is not a destination. It is a journey. It is a continuous process of learning, adapting, and improving. There is no magic bullet. There is no single hack that will solve all your problems. Productivity is a holistic practice. It involves your mind, your emotions, your environment, and your relationships. It requires self-awareness. It requires discipline. It requires compassion. As you move forward, remember the core message of smarter, faster, better. You have the power to change. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are not a slave to your habits. You are an agent. You can choose how you think. You can choose how you act. You can choose how you live. Start with one thing. Pick one concept from this summary and apply it today. Maybe it's making a conscious choice when you wake up. Maybe it's breaking down a big goal into small steps. Maybe it's turning off your notifications for an hour. Maybe it's asking for feedback from a colleague. Maybe it's tracking a habit. Maybe it's visualizing success. Small actions compound. Over time, they create massive change. You will find that you are more focused, more motivated, more effective, more fulfilled. You will find that you are not just doing more, you are being more. You are living with intention. You are living with purpose. The world is changing. The challenges are growing. But so are you. You have the tools. You have the knowledge. You have the potential. Now, it is time to act. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of the yoke in your hands. Look ahead, choose your path, and fly. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this resonated with you, if it sparked a thought, if it inspired a change, please share it. Leave a comment below. Tell me, what is one choice you will make today to reclaim your agency? What is one distraction you will eliminate? What is one goal you will pursue with renewed focus? Your stories inspire others. Your actions create ripples. Let's build a community of smarter, faster, better thinkers and doers. Until next time, stay curious, stay focused, stay human.